Now.
Good evening. We're starting with breaking news out of Tucson, where wanted murder suspect Alex Barnett has been taken into custody after a SWAT operation. A statewide blue alert was issued for Barnett last week after investigators say he killed Tucson police recruit Carlos Ramirez. He's also accused of wounding Ramirez's fiancée, who's a Pima County corrections officer. A second suspect, 39-year-old Santiago Rogers, was arrested this weekend and charged with first-degree murder. We'll have updates on the situation and the investigation as we continue to learn more.
A former Apache Junction police officer improperly used AI license plate reader technology to locate his wife. Tonight, 12 News has obtained new records detailing how the officer improperly used the department's flock camera system. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for 12 News at 10. I'm Kariba Devine.
I'm Mark Curtis. An internal investigation shows the officer was using the AI license plate reader technology to try to find his wife. 12 News journalist Gabriela Becerra is live with the latest. Gabby?
Well, Mark Caribe, according to those police reports, everyone involved in this incident allegedly admitted they knew it was wrong. That former police officer allegedly disclosed he was having marital issues prior to this all happening. An Apache Junction police officer resigned after an internal investigation found he misused a law enforcement database for personal reasons. Newly obtained police records from the Internal Affairs Division revealed Joshua McDaniel allegedly admitted to asking two dispatchers to search for his wife's license plate in the flock database last April, later telling an investigator it was to locate his wife and children. Based on the results, McDaniel asked Casa Grande police for a welfare check on his wife. They located her and notified Apache Junction police of the possible misuse. McDaniel apologized for the incident, allegedly telling the investigator he was not in the right mind of thinking at the time. He resigned in July, prior to the investigator recommending his termination. This incident comes as the surveillance tool faces growing privacy concerns.
It can save lives, it can find stolen vehicles, it can, find elderly citizens that have gone missing. But there's a lot of potential misuse that could take place.
Former law enforcement officer and current attorney Anthony Ramirez says he believes most law enforcement officers are using this technology correctly, but there's still work to be done to keep searches strictly professional.
These departments really need to get serious about the accountability of the system and putting in safeguards to prevent it from taking place rather than detecting it after it has already occurred.
And the two dispatchers who helped the officer are still employed with the department. One received a suspension of 40 days, the other a suspension of 30 days. I'm Gabriela Becerra, 12 News.
All right, Gabby, thank you for that. Developing tonight, a Tempe school security worker is behind bars after being accused of downloading videos of girls changing. Police say that it happened at Corona del Sol High School. Tempe police say that 29-year-old Anthony Cruz observed girls changing clothes on a surveillance camera. Investigators say that he downloaded clips of the girls, who he believed to be freshmen or sophomores. Cruz is being held on a $100,000 bond.
Listen to this. A father is accused of breaking into the Mesa Arts Center and bringing his 10-year-old son along as his accomplice. Police say 31-year-old Gene Zintz damaged a door at the Mesa Contemporary Arts Building last week, while his 7-year-old son allegedly took more than $7,000 worth of jewelry. Investigators say the two returned the following day to retrieve a water bottle that they had left behind. But when they tried to leave, they saw police, and that was it. Zintz is facing multiple burglary and theft charges and is being held on a $40,000 bond.
All right, let's get to our weather impact alert forecast with meteorologist Chris Dunn. And Chris, are we in for some record-breaking temperatures with this?
We'll likely have a couple of records this week. So that tells you that this kind of heat is not normal heat. This is high heat. We'll tie the record tomorrow at 113. Weather impact alert days through Thursday and actually through Saturday. 115 will be the peak of the heat on Wednesday, and 114 will set a new record on Thursday. And look at the morning lows as well. That's part of the equation here. Low 90s for our morning lows. We're at 100 right now. It's always been my measure of if it's hot in the valley, It's still 100 at 10 o'clock at night. Dew point is 57. So that number right there, that tells us that there's plenty of humidity in the air. There's moisture. There's fuel for storms, but we also need a couple more ingredients. We need something to lift that air, and we need an unstable atmosphere, an environment, and that it would be conducive for storms. We're not finding that right now because in the upper levels, some drier air is moving in and more stable air and sinking air. 59 Flagstaff right now, 76 in Winslow, and there's that 100 in Phoenix. That's why we're not seeing a whole lot of storm action across the lower deserts, not like we did yesterday, where we had those outflow boundaries colliding back and forth and lifting the air and causing the dust and all the showers that we had moving through the valley. Through Saturday, the extreme heat is going to be with us, with those temperatures running well above normal and not much rain relief at all. So prepare for an extended stretch of extreme heat through Saturday. But starting on Saturday, a chance of storms in the valley. We'll show you how things are changing and shifting. Coming up with my weather impact forecast.
Be nice to get some rain. Chris, thanks. We continue to push for answers surrounding a violent traffic stop that led to the arrest of 2 Phoenix police officers over the weekend. Antonio Felix and Luis Vasquez Jr. were booked into jail on charges of kidnapping and assault and robbery. Vasquez is accused of repeatedly punching the driver, while Felix allegedly tased him as well as the passenger. Right now, there are many questions that surround this story. Earlier today, Phoenix Police Chief Matt Giordano sat down with Troy Hayden and Tram Mai on 12 News at 4.
Interviewed the victims. We've gotten their account of what occurred. We have some evidence that corroborates a lot of what they told us, and we have interviews of both the former officers. Now we're just working together because, again, those stories don't match completely. They're very similar, but not completely. Again, we're just working through that. I really want to know exactly what happened because we have an amazing force. What I say to them is we have robust policies. If you come into work, work hard, follow our policies, keep your supervisor apprised of what you're doing. But most importantly, and I said this earlier today to someone else, I've stolen it from the fire department, be nice.
Be nice. The chief also said the criminal investigation doesn't end when the charges are filed. The department will continue to investigate how what should have been a simple traffic stop turned so violent. Tonight, we're learning more about how a Supreme Court ruling tied to mail-in ballots could impact our elections.
The court cleared the way for the Trump administration to move forward with parts of its plan to change how the federal government handles mail voting. 12 News journalist Kyle Simchuk is joining us live in Phoenix. And Kyle, what does today's ruling mean for how people can vote this upcoming November?
Yeah, Caribe. Basically, Secretary of State Adrian Fontes is reassuring voters tonight that nothing has changed in those early mail-in ballots. They'll be mailed out 44 days from now. If you plan to vote by mail this November, Arizona Secretary of State Adrian Fontes says you can keep those plans. That's because today's Supreme Court ruling does not change how Arizona voters cast their mail-in ballots.
At this particular moment, nothing has changed. That's the easy answer. The harder answer is a little more convoluted because of the legal back and forth here. But like the vast majority of our voters in Arizona, if you're voting by mail, nothing changes because of this particular ruling.
But there's a bigger fight going on. It's about who gets to make the rules for mail voting. President Trump wants the federal government to have a bigger say. His plan would have the Department of Homeland Security make lists of who can legally vote. It would also have the Postal Service make new rules for mail ballots. The president says it's about keeping elections safe and making sure only citizens vote. But some states disagree. Fontes says the president does not have the power to tell states how to run their elections and worries a federal list could be inaccurate.
The Department of Homeland Security's data is notoriously bad, and we've seen lots and lots of citizens, in fact, more citizens potentially losing their right to vote than there are non-citizen voters. And that's really problematic, particularly for folks like me who want as many of our eligible citizens to vote as possible.
The Supreme Court did not say if President Trump's executive order is legal. Instead, it said the 23 states that challenged the order, including Arizona, did so too soon, allowing part of the administration's plan to move forward. That means Homeland Security can start building its citizenship list, but the part that would let the Postal Service withhold ballots is still blocked by a separate court order. For now, Arizona election officials are moving forward with the election process, with early voting beginning in just 6 weeks.
Well, my message for Arizona voters is very simple. If you vote by mail, as long as I'm the Secretary of State, you will continue to vote by mail. Today's ruling changes nothing.
And Attorney General Chris Mesa says she will continue to fight this executive order. We're live outside the state capitol tonight. Kyle Simchuk, 12 News.
Kyle, thanks. Happening tomorrow, the nominees for governor will take part in a public safety forum. Governor Katie Hobbs and Congressman Andy Biggs will not be debating each other, meaning tomorrow will likely be the only time they answer questions under the same roof before the election this November. Each candidate will have a one-on-one conversation with KTAR's Mike Broomhead. You can watch the event live on the 12 News streaming app tomorrow night at 6 o'clock.